Hello.
How are you? Oh my god.
I'm like, I'm 7 a.m., right? Actually, see, it will chop my glasses off, and it absolutely
Be in order. Before we begin, I just wanted to make some quick reminders about Senate decorum. First, you can only speak when recognized by the chair. Please raise your hand to be recognized. Second, please avoid any disruptive outbursts as they will not be tolerated throughout the conduct of the meeting. Third, non-members of the Senate can only address the Senate and participate in debate upon motion of a senator. 4, all comments and questions shall be directed at the chair. I am the chair for this meeting, by the way. And lastly, as a reminder, during the Q&A portion of any motion, please reserve your questions to questions of fact. Questions or comments of opinion are reserved for debate. Thank you. For the purposes of announcements, does any individual seek recognition? Please state your name for the record.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Ella. I'm a senior senator, and I just want to give a quick announcement on the bargaining process that the professional staff union is going through right now with the administration. So PSU has been bargaining since, I want to say, March or April of last year. So it's been going on for a while, but they've been bargaining with the university over better wages, fair treatment of workers, trying to address some discriminatory conduct cases that have been brought against staff, not dissimilar to the ones that have been brought against students. So they're trying to bargain over all of these things. Recently, they did a sort of campaign where they had silent bargaining representatives in their meetings, which is completely legal. It's just people who are sitting there observing the meetings. And after that, UMass HR actually decided to step away from the bargaining table because they didn't like that. Oh, we don't like being held accountable to what we're doing. So this is a QR code with an email template that I have written to the UMass chancellor, urging him to get HR back to the bargaining table with PSU. Our unions are really important. Our workers obviously deserve good pay and good treatment at this school. And if you guys remember at Senate training, like a little while ago, Ryan asked a question about unions, and the chancellor was like, oh, I love unions and I love having them at the bargaining table. Well, he's not really living up to that, so let's keep him accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any other individual seek recognition to make an announcement? All right. There being no more announcements, the associate speaker will record the roll call.
If I pronounce your last name wrong, please correct me. Adeni. Alamanji. Senator Anim. Senator Bloom. Senator Borski. Senator Butusova. Senator DeMarco. Chair Centenaro. Senator Dami. Senator Duarte. Yeah. Duarte. Thank you. Senator Duivetti. Senator Eze. Thank you. Senator Germain. Senator Hercule. Senator Hiranandani. Senator Ibrahim. Senator Imran. Senator Jama. Is that right? Thank you. Senator Kim. Senator Kumar. Senator Lequier. Senator Lewis. Senator Molesky.
Here.
Senator Manda. Senator Mani Kandan. Chair Mazanda. Senator Mello. Senator Molman. Senator Nevins. Senator O'Connell. Chair Onyeka. Senator Pafak. One more time. Thank you. Senator Patriello. Senator Perry. Senator Prabhakaran. Senator Prabhakar. Chair Rabin. Senator Rue. Chair Sarna. Chair Sharma. Chair Stamen. Where's he? Oh. Senator Silverio. Senator Strong. Senator Tamkin. Chair Tran. Senator Verma. Senator Wu. Quorum's 41.
With 41 voting members, a quorum is present. The minutes from the last Senate meeting were sent out 48 hours prior. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Chair Stamen? We got you. Yep. There being no corrections, the minutes stand approved without objection. On to officer reports. The University Student Trustee, Oliveira, is recognized. Oh, do you want to? You can take the podium.
Sorry. Hi, guys. Okay, I'm Felicity. I'm a student trustee. I feel like I haven't got to say hi to everyone yet, but for the ones I have met, seems like we have a really good group this year. So just a couple of things I wanted to let you guys know. I know there were some questions about which committee we're serving as a university. So we did get a choice, and then we're pretty much elected to serve on that committee. So this year, UMass Amherst is going to be serving the Academic and Finance Committee, which is very, very good, along with the Audit and Risk Committee. So I have had my first meeting with the Admin and Finance, and then we've had the Board of Trustees meeting back in September. We didn't cover much, so there's not really a lot to relay. It was just kind of like a quarter update of what happened last year and what's kind of going forward this year. So I know it'll get juicier, I'd say, like through December. But other than that, for what I've been working on, I did meet with Matt Morvick, which is the assistant director to the financial aid office. There's like a huge issue with housing on campus, and I know we've all kind of talked about that a lot. So we're trying to see if we can do like a pilot program for housing vouchers. So that's kind of like the first step. Other than that, I have a meeting with Marty Meehan tomorrow. I'll be joining in on that. We're going to be talking about the Mass grant formula. So I know this is not something very spoken about with students on campus, but there has been an issue with the Mass grant formula and how it's been pretty much distributed. So some students have got refunds that I wouldn't say don't need it, but they didn't prioritize students who need it the most. So that's kind of the issue going on now. So we're going to see if we can fix that before they audit the program, because when they do that, they're going to start seeing that we didn't account for all the money that we actually needed. So that's just kind of like where I'm at right now. And then I'm also meeting with Lauren, the Director of Financial Aid, this week, and then hopefully she can give us like an estimate amount on how much the housing voucher program will cost. Okay, that's about it. But if you guys need anything from me at all, feel free to email me. I'm like open to working on anything. It's just, I do have some programs that I'm already started. If you have any input, please let me know. Okay. Bye, guys.
President Humphreys is recognized.
Hi, everybody. So I'll be real quick. Just most of it is up there. I do have a couple things I'd like to emphasize and update you on, though. First of all, this is the second of 2 days of the meal swipe donation program. If you have extra meal swipes, including if you have an unlimited plan, you can go onto the Get mobile app and donate a meal swipe to students who are in need. All swipes will go to benefits the Dean of Students Office Supplemental Meal Swipe Program. People can request meal swipes if they are in need in emergency situations. I know a lot of you guys have already donated, but if you haven't and you are able to, I recommend taking a moment to do that while you're sitting here listening to me. But yeah, there'll also be another opportunity coming around November 12th and 13th. So if you miss this one, there will be a second opportunity. Secondly, I did meet the Food Recovery Network started today. Just a heads up, Wednesdays, 5 to 6 p.m. in the old Newman Center. If you go in the back doors by like where Eisenberg is, you can go in and you can get a free meal. Did want to add something that wasn't on my report out. This morning, Vice President Leone, Speaker Flanagan, and I attended a meeting with Secretary Lombo and University Trustee Oliveira attended a meeting with a couple of our elected officials, including Congressman Jim McGovern, State Senator Joe Comerford, and our State Representative Mindy Dom. We had a very productive discussion about activism here on campus and how we can continue to navigate these tough times. One last thing I did want to emphasize, and I'm sure probably everybody here is aware tonight, and there could be some potentially heavy topics on the agenda, as that could be the case as well throughout the year. But I do want to remind everybody kind of what I said last week. And for those of you who weren't here last week, just like, we want to create a space in the SGA where you can feel free to voice your opinions. However, please be respectful of each other. Please don't make it personal. Please stick to the policy. Don't interrupt each other, and don't, harass or threaten students before, during, or after the meetings. At the end of the day, we're all here for the same reason, and that's because we care about students. So please do me a favor, just be respectful, and hopefully we can have some good dialogue about these important issues. Are there any questions?
President Leone is recognized.
Hello. Hey everyone. I'll keep this pretty brief. Most things are on my report out. The one thing I wanted to mention was Colin and I also attended the admin and finance meeting today, and we had told Vice Chancellor Andy Mangels that one thing that we're looking forward to do this year is really kind of push the state for more state funding. UMass has historically had their state funding cut over the past 20 years. And so with that, UMass can't invest in its own university. That's part of the reason why we have buildings that are crumbling. That's part of the reason why we have so many issues that exist. And he said that he'd love that. And so, yeah, we're really looking forward this year to putting pressure on the state legislator to get more funding for UMass and overall public colleges. Any questions?
Good evening, everyone. I do have a few updates or just a few things to clarify here. First, I got a lot of questions about committee attendance. And if you have to go to committee, the answer is definitely. Your attendance at committee is required pursuant to our bylaws. Your physical presence is requested. Please speak to your chair about joining virtually and having that count towards your attendance. But in person is always preferred if you're able to. Next, I just wanted to review the new agenda format. Could you just, yeah, it's just like to the drive. To the right. I just got some questions about the format of our Senate materials. And so I'm just going to take 2 seconds here to describe what each thing is. The agenda is the main document of all of our meetings. On the agenda, you want to click on it? On the agenda, you will find every item, every point of business that we will consider during that meeting. And so if you scroll down a little bit, this is a good example. This is a summary of what we will be voting on. And so this is 3 motions. They are motions to appoint committee chairs. On the agenda is the summary of what will be going on. And if you switch over to the motions packet, no, you're good. Okay. These are the motions that we will be voting on. This is the text of the motions that we will approve or deny. Does that make sense? So on the agenda, you get an overview. It's a summary of what's going to go down during the meeting. But then in the motions packet, this is the actual text of what we will be considering. And they're separated to keep our agendas concise and efficient. Are there any questions about this? Okay. And then you'll see all of the Senate reports. So members will come up and say, oh, it's in my report. That can be found in this document, the reports packet. Cool. All right. I just thought I'd clarify that. Yes. Okay. Another thing, you'll see that there are 4 microphones at the end of each row near the aisle. Those are for you all to use when you're speaking so that we can hear everyone. I added those. Those will now be a standard to every single meeting. I spoke with AV, and they have so kindly allowed us to go with 6 total microphones. Also, shout out to Chair Rabin. Chair Rabin, the chair of academic oversight, has obtained 100 new iClickers. And so for our program, she will talk more about that during her report out. But I just want to give a shout out to her for doing that. So awesome. All right, that's all for me. Associate Speaker Amherst is recognized.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I know it's exam season and that can be tough. So please reach out if you need anything at all. If you need some time, let me know. I missed the last Senate meeting because I was at an exam, so this is my first one of the year. I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited to be the Associate Speaker this year. With that said, I just want to reiterate that I'm here for all the senators, all the chairs, and even cabinet members. If you need help on any projects or anything like that, please reach out and let me know. I'm here for you guys. I have the time on my hands, so just let me know. Everything's pretty much in my report out if you go in the document. I've just been working on my Senate chamber enhancements. I've been meeting with Core 4. Speaker Flanagan and I have been meeting with Attorney Farrell. I want to talk about one more thing. for the excused absence form, if you are filling out that form and want your absence excused, please attach some documentation along with that. I know I kind of said that in like Senate training, but I just want to reiterate that. Make sure that there's something attached to the form. After 2 unexcused absences, I will be sending out an email just asking you if you wish to like continue your role in SGA as a senator. So yeah, and if there's a 3rd, then you're resigned by non-action. So I just wanted to put that out there. So if you are filling out that form, make sure you're attaching some sort of like proof. Like if you have an exam, you're attaching like the screenshot of like that exam or something. So I know it's like real and that like you're not just like saying that. So I can like put it in as an excused absence for all of you guys. That's pretty much it for me. Does anyone have any questions? No. Okay. Thank you.
All right. The Chief Justice may be recognized. All right. The Residence Hall Association President may be recognized.
Hi guys, hope we're all doing well. I have everything in my report out. Something to just add on, House Council members have been rolling out with trainings. We're doing viewpoint neutrality, Robert's rules, all of that. If you are interested in joining House Council or Programming Board, please reach out and let me know. And if you are also interested in collaborating on any projects, please let me know. I'll be collaborating with the Director of Res Life, so more to come. Thank you guys.
Any RSO council presidents may be recognized. Any agency representatives may be recognized. Chief of Staff Nassar is recognized. What was that? Okay. Well then, Cabinet who wishes to be recognized, please come forward.
Hi, everyone. I just have a quick announcement to make. On Monday night, I completed new RSO applications. I accepted 41 applications and denied 31. If you have any questions about the process, either let me know now or send me a message. And yeah, that's about it. Just wanted to announce that and say thank you to everyone who helped me out throughout the process. Special shout out to Chair Tran, to Michael who helped me, and a bunch of other people. So yeah, thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name's Carol. I'm the Secretary of Sustainability. I just want to put on everyone's radar that our second Student Sustainability Coalition meeting is happening Tuesday from 7 to 8 in the Campus Center, room 90408. If you're interested in that info, email me and I can send it to you. Thanks.
Hi, I'm the Secretary of DEI, and I just wanted to let you guys know that we're doing a DEI task force. It's open right now, and basically our goal is to basically make like increased support for RSOs and like work on like making a campus environment that's diverse, equitable, and inclusive for everybody. So if you're interested in being in that, the application is open. Just reach out to me or call in. And it closes on October 18th at 11:59.
Thank you. Any faculty senate representatives may be recognized.
I'm just going to seal this up. Hi, for those of you who know me, I'm Kevin. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kevin. I sit on the Academic Matters Council, which I unfortunately forgot to report out last week. They have had multiple meetings before us, and I'm just reporting on the one that we had last week. There will be one next week, so there will be a new report out. They recently passed 5 new courses as well as tabled a 6th for consideration. There is one thing that we as senators should put into our minds. There is a re-implementation of the Title IX policy. It is a bit unclear. It has been tabled until further clarity has been established. But that is something that we should think about. And then there is one other matter of the academic honesty policy, which is soon to be rebranded the academic integrity policy. I believe there will be a presentation next week about that. So please just have that on your mind for next week's Senate.
Thank you. Any ESO event representatives may be recognized. Any advisory board representatives may be recognized.
Hey everybody. So earlier today, I attended the Administration and Finance SAB. VP Leone had talked about it a little bit, but I did want to add, we did have some very thorough discussion regarding admissions and housing on campus. As you guys might be aware, we have had some issues with that, especially when it comes to juniors and seniors getting housing over the past few years. One of the reasons for that is because demand for juniors and seniors living on campus is going up. It could possibly, a couple suggestions potentially could have something to do with rising costs of housing on campus as well as around Amherst and the surrounding towns. Could also have to do, with the effects of the pandemic and people having kind of like one less year of college in some cases, maybe want to experience the on-campus experience a bit more. One of the things we did talk about is, so they are kind of at capacity in terms of housing and enrollment. It's not as bad as it was a couple of years ago where people were living in the hotels, but we are still in a situation where we have many of the, the lounges have been converted into living spaces for the time being. With that being said, there is ongoing discussions about the right approach to that, whether that is to consider constructing new housing in the future or to renovate. It is worth noting it is very expensive to do those things, so it could be a while before that happens. However, I did strongly urge them to really ramp up those conversations and start getting something on the books. One other piece of information I wanted to kind of put out there is we do have our enrollment numbers for this year, and despite the SCOTUS decision regarding affirmative action, our enrollment numbers are still, our diversity numbers have actually still continued to trend upwards, which the university is very happy about. So that was another little factoid I wanted to put out there. But overall, things are going pretty well. And just so you guys know, Administrative and Finance Committee, it's a very important committee. These councils are extremely, extremely important. If you're not on them yet, please reach out. And yeah, does anybody have any questions?
On to Senate committee reports. Chair Rabin is recognized. And chairs can go ahead and line up if they have any reports to give out.
Okay, hi everyone. My report out is up there. I want to thank Farshid for helping me get the 100 eye clickers and the ideas team. I really appreciate it, and I'm really excited to start lending them out. And that's it.
Chair Centenaro.
Hi guys, hope you're all doing well. Nothing much to report besides today we conducted our first bylaw literacy program meeting. Attorney General and I did that. It was really successful. We worked on how to run or establish a strategic plan for any initiatives that senators have in mind. So all those resources that we have in these meetings are going to go up, hopefully onto the SGA Canvas page that Michael just worked on. But we do strongly urge you guys to attend these meetings. Not only are you getting to have these conversations with SGA leadership, but we really have planned a lot of resources for you guys for this entire year. So that's all I wanted to say. Other than that, every AA motion passed. It'll be up here today. But yeah, thank you so much.
That reminded me. Yes, the SGA Canvas page. I just added every officer to that page, so let me know if you didn't get that invite. All you have to do is go onto Canvas and it should pop up, and then you accept. It's a super simple page. I did my best. But I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. The home page is the home page, so that's where all the buttons are to lead you to all the relevant areas. Yeah, I hope you all like it. All right, Chair Sarna.
Hey everyone, I don't have anything to report except that ODC had our first meeting this Tuesday at 7:30. We went out for a bonding dinner. Also, please come for our town hall tomorrow at 5:30 at the campus center, room 904, I believe. Yeah, that's the room. So definitely come, bring your friends. We're gonna try to get some pizza. We're working on that. But yeah, any questions, feel free to send me an email.
Thank you. Chair Onyeka.
Hi, everyone. My report is up there, but my committee had our first meeting on Sunday. It went really well. We have a lot of great ideas for the year, so I'm excited to start. I have a meeting tomorrow with Wilma from UMass, which is the Center for Multicultural Advancement and Student Success. Every year, we usually collaborate for like a little event. We call it Cocoa and Conversation. It's like to target an underrepresented group on campus to just have a space for communication. I'm not sure. Last year, we did it with first generation college students. This year, I'm not sure, but if anyone can think of any groups that would benefit from like a community space to just talk, you can let me know. But other than that, that's it.
Chair Tran.
So first of all, my report is out. I'm working on the overlap project, the RSO overlap project. I have did a progress report. I'm gonna send to Speaker Michael soon about that. The second one is that I'm planning for our committee meeting. It's gonna be tomorrow. So please, all my committee members, please meet me after this meeting so we can talk about that. And the third one is that I'm working on a Google Sheet about the all the RSO audit project, audit process. So yeah, I'm working to automate that process to make it faster for everybody. So yeah, that's been much it. If you have any question, please just send email for me.
Chair Mazondo.
All right. Hi, everyone. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get my report out, but I have some updates on the election project that I'm working on right now. So last Friday, I met with a bunch of administrators to pretty much discuss and tell them what SGA and specifically the students are planning to do to help get the vote out there. And so I've pretty much been talking with administrators and faculty on that. Yesterday, President Collin and Secretary Vitale met with some people from UMass's media team to hopefully make some videos and post out on the socials or whatever they're going to put it out to encourage more people on campus to vote. And tomorrow I have a meeting with MassPerg to hopefully plan a joint MassPerg SGA voter education event to help promote education for in-state now students that is nonpartisan. So if any of this sounds interesting to you or you guys want more information, my email is right there. And yeah, thank you.
Chair Stamen.
Hi, everyone. So my report out is actually not up there, but this is actually my first Senate meeting in person that I'm attending. So I've been working on a few things with Concha. Actually, her and I had a really long, 3-hour-long meeting last Friday. We're planning out our committee training. So committee members, get ready for that. You're getting a very in-depth training. There will be no human who will be lost. Also, some projects we've been working on is I just met with Jan Cole. We developed the budget template for RSO, so that is up and functioning. So RSOs can start officially working on their budget process in Campus Pulse. My second budget workshop was actually today. It was in the Student Union Ballroom from 12 to 2, and it was open to everyone in any council. My club sports budget workshop was yesterday, and I have another council's budget workshop that's coming up on the 15th. I believe it's advocacy, religious, and spiritual life, but don't quote me on that. What else? Yes, also I met with the agency advisors last Thursday as well, and we talked about funding for the next year, what the impacts of their funding for the current year will be, and making sure that they're still able to operate fully next year and serve the student body and just addressing concerns. Did I hit everything? No, I did not. Another project we're working on currently is Melina and I are going to be working on establishing an RSO advisory board to the Ways and Means Committee. So this will hopefully help establish some transparency between Ways and Means and the RSO members and ease up the process a little bit. And also, I will be working with Secretary of the Registry, Rania. Her and I are going to be working on a supply closet initiative. All of these initiatives that we will be working on, by the way, this year, I heavily encourage people to get involved. Really important projects that everyone should participate in. Committee members, wink, wink, blink, blink. There are other SATF reforms that we'll be working on. As I mentioned in previous report outs, we have implemented 2 already, and we will be tracking the financial impacts of those throughout the year. We're going to be enacting another one soon. And is that everything? Yes, that's everything. Any questions? Yes.
Vice President Leone.
What was the attendance for like 3 and plus that like came to your workshops day yesterday? Do you feel like enough came? Do you feel like not? Should we have more sessions? What was the attendance?
So for the club sports, all of the club sports were there. At least one representative from each RSO for club sports was there. So I felt like good attendance was good. I think the only issue was with space because as I think I told you, for those who don't know, I created a workshop walkthrough portion of the budget workshop, which is basically giving RSO leaders an opportunity to try and build a budget and get direct feedback from me in the middle of the workshop and helps establish relationships with me. Unfortunately, we could not do that during their budget workshop last week, but we were able to do that today and it was super successful, had really good attendance. People were still trickling into the very end. People came into the room was full and I had people staying past 2. So I think it was good. And I honestly wish I'm hopefully able to do more events like that. Does that answer your question? Any other questions? No? Okay.
Hi everyone, my report is out there. As Maya mentioned that we've been working on committee meetings and we have our first one tomorrow. So far, I don't have a lot going on, but there are just few funding requests that have been coming along and I'm just working on emergency funding presentations that I'll be showing it for our committee meetings and that's all.
The SGA advisor may be recognized. Good. All right. Does there exist a reason to call in the session the Committee of the Whole?
Yes.
For what reason does there exist to call in the session the Committee of the Whole? Okay. The Senate will stand in recess and the Committee of the Whole shall be in session to discuss the Wellman document training. Pursuant to Title II, Chapter 31, Section 9, when the Committee of the Whole is called into session, parliamentary procedure is suspended and the Senate may not take any official votes or actions. Attorney Farrell, you're live.
Hello, everyone. Can I use like?
Oh, you're good. Okay. Let me just.
Yeah, I just took notes on here. Hello, can everyone hear me? Fantastic. All right, so I will introduce myself. I know I met a lot of you at the SGA Senate training, but I am Attorney Ben Farrell. I am the interim co-director of the Student Legal Services Office. If you can switch. That's us. So we are your lawyers individually, but we're also of counsel to you as SGA. So I meet with a lot of you, a lot of chairs, a lot of cabinet members. I meet with just questions about bylaws, laws, things like that. But if you reach out to me as your in your role as an SGA senator that have questions about bylaws and things like that, I'll be happy to meet with you at any time. All right, next. Okay, so the Wellman document. I gave you some homework last time. Who actually did the reading? So the Wellman document is the first couple pages of your bylaws, and it is the foundational text upon which you derive your power here at the university. It is a Board of Trustee document. It is Board of Trustee policy. So this is dicta from on high, from the Board of Trustees saying, this is how we are going to run our university here in Massachusetts, okay? And so it's a basic tenet where it's like a three-legged stool. We have the administration, right? That's the chancellors, vice chancellors, the president, the Board of Trustees, okay? They're one leg. The faculty are another leg. They have their own senate. They have their own power under Wellman. And then the last leg, well, last but certainly not least, are you the students, all right? And so it is sharing the governance of the university because each leg has its own speciality, right? And each leg of this stool has its own expertise, all right? And we can get into that as we go, all right? So we can go next. And this is just a basic like Venn diagram of what constitutes good governance and the theory behind the Wellman document. We can keep going. This is we'll just power right through. All right, next. This is it, okay? And I'm sure you've seen it all. And so the spirit of Wellman, and this is a document that dates back to 1972. So this has been for over 50 years how this system of governance here on campus has been run for over 50 years. And it's to support student involvement and leadership, especially in the areas designed to serve students. It's also designed to support and encourage constituent participation. So promote active and regular flow of information, timely responses from students and from faculty and from administration, outreach for the three pillars of this stool, right? And consultation with stakeholders. And so the consultation is another big thing. That's a separate document that I'm not sure, is that given out, the consultation guidelines from, I'm not sure if you guys have that, but that'll be part of it. But that's a chancellor document that says, all right, this is a general document outlining broad strokes of how we're going to govern this school. The guidelines, the consultation guidelines are from the chancellors, from the former chancellor back in 2017, saying, all right, this is how we're going to consult step by step at each step of the process, okay? And the goal is to foster good working relationships between the three pillars. All right, click one. So the Wellman document, as I said, is a Board of Trustee document. And the first thing they do is to say, you know what? We make all of the rules. No matter what we say next, we reserve the right to say, never mind. Okay? Because all power flows from the Board of Trustees. That's the way it works. That's the way the world is. Okay? But this is the guiding principle of how are we going to get faculty and students involved in governance. All right. So that's that. That's the ultimate authority. Begins and ends with the Board of Trustees. Next. And so without limiting that authority, the Board of Trustees acknowledges that governing the university is complex. 40,000 students, including graduate students. It's like running a city. All right. And it needs to be delegated, the powers and the responsibilities. All right. And so it's a joint effort in governing the university. And click 3. Yep. And so this is just going through. You can read it yourself. But each time they go back to saying they have the ultimate authority. Everything that is proposed under Wellman, the ultimate authority is the Board of Trustees. If they say no, then the answer is no. But this gives you the right, the obligation, and the opportunity to make proposals and to be consulted on anything that affects you as students. Okay. Next. So what is a policy? This is what Wellman addresses. How are policies going to be made? How are policies going to be adjusted, amended, or just gotten rid of? Okay, so a policy, it mandates, specifies, or prohibits conduct, ensures coordinated compliance with applicable laws and regulations, promotes operational efficiency, and/or reduces institutional risk. Oh, sorry. Written by a lawyer. So, primary responsibility. This is the most important part. What do you have a voice in? What can you propose? What area of the university life do you have primary responsibility in proposing policies or being consulted on any changes in policy or adding to policies? All right, and it's defined as certain components of the university, such as the president's office, campus administrations, and the representative and administrative governing bodies of the faculty and the students have, by virtue of interest, training, and experience, a special concern and competence in certain areas. As a result, these components shall have primary responsibility in their areas of special competence and concern. And here's just an overview of the three pillars that we talked about and what the primary responsibilities of each pillar are. All right, and we'll go to the next one, students. All right, so you have primary responsibility for services and activities which are designed primarily to serve students, services which are financed primarily by students. So anything that affects the student activity trust fund, you have primary responsibility for. Setting standards for student behavior, conduct, and discipline. That is one of the things that you have a primary responsibility to be consulted and to propose policies for. And so this doesn't encompass enforcing those standards. It just participates in the development of those policies. All right. So, for example, the Code of Student Conduct, which is up for renewal, you have the obligation, the right, and the ability to have a seat at that table. Okay. It's the Dean of Students Office who's going to make those policies, but you have a seat at the table. Okay. All right. Next is faculty. Academic matters. So obviously, when it comes to curriculum, admission, faculty is primarily responsible for. Things that have to do with the classroom, it's the faculty that takes the lead on that. Okay, and so faculty status, tenure, curriculum, admissions, things of that nature, that's the primary responsibility for the faculty. Okay. All right. The administration structure, it's a bureaucracy. So it's got structure, it has rules, and it has all of these positions, and we're going to go one by one. All right. And it all flows from the Board of Trustees. I'm repeating myself, but it's really important for you to know that the Board of Trustees is the ultimate authority and everyone's boss. Okay. So first is the Board of Trustees, and they hold the ultimate responsibility, consider plans and policies recommended to them by faculty or students or their chancellors or presidents. And it's the Board of Trustees who appoint the president. So President Meehan of the UMass system, and the chancellor is appointed by the Board of Trustees. The treasurer and the secretary of the university is appointed by the Board of Trustees. And they are the broad strokes. They're up there at 30,000 feet looking at how can we run this university effectively. Okay, next. All right, the president and the chancellors of the various campuses are responsible for ensuring compliance with Wellman. Okay, that all components of the university have opportunity to make recommendations prior to the establishment of policy. The administration can't just propose a new policy to the Board of Trustees without consulting the primary responsibility stakeholders. Okay, and that's under Wellman. Okay, next, the chancellor is under the president. He is the head of this campus, and each campus, Lowell, Dartmouth, the med school, Boston, they have their own chancellors. They are the head of the campus, the specific campus. All right. And then under the chancellor are the vice chancellors, provosts, and deans. Right. So it's very hierarchical from the board of trustees all the way down to the deans. All right. And those are that's the administration. All right. 2 avenues for student participation in joint governance. Okay. The first is the consultation. Okay. And that is the advisory boards. You heard reports from Colin about the being on advisory boards. That's vitally important because it's the advisory boards who propose. That's like the beginning of a proposal to change policy. That is the seed in the ground in which a policy can grow. And you have, by rights under Wellman, seats at the table. Okay, that's not just you're being given that can be taken away at any time. No, you have specific seats and a right to be at the table and to be heard on any policy change that is proposed through the advisory boards. Okay. That's pretty much it there. It's going to be a long night, so we're busting through this. The second avenue is a direct path where you as a body can propose a policy change directly to administration. Okay? And there is a process in Wellman where a policy change is proposed here in the Senate. It's then sent to the chancellor. The chancellor has a certain amount of time, 20 days, to either send it back or approve and go on to the president. And then the president has 20 days to either send it back or approve it and then go to the board of trustees. So it's a 3-level process by which a policy change can be directly proposed by you. All right. And then the board of trustees has 20 days, but they can defer that decision for 30 days and go from there. And either it becomes university policy under the board of trustees or it's sent back. Okay. If they deny it, then you can either try to adjust language, work with the stakeholders to make it more palatable, because this is a collaborative effort. This isn't you dictating policy to administration. This is you working with administration to propose a policy and enact a policy that will benefit everyone. And that's why it's kind of important to have input and let people know at each level what's coming, right? Because if you want it to actually go into effect, you're going to need buy-in from each level, from the chancellor, from the president, and from the board of trustees. All right, that's how that happens. That's Wellman. It's not an adversarial document. It's a collaborative document. We're all working together to try to make this university better. And these are the processes by which you have a say. Okay? Yeah, so that's consultation is key. And students and administration need to work together for Wellman to have any function. Okay? All right, yeah, and so the next is the consultation agreement. This is what I was talking about. 2017, it's guidelines for the meaningful consultation. So Wellman just says meaningful consultation. What the hell does that mean? It's outlined in this consultation agreement. All right. So we kind of went over everything. Does anyone have any questions? So if we can go, yeah, we kind of went over that. We can keep going. All right, when does Wellman not apply? So basically an emergency situation. Any current emergent unanticipated situation that in the judgment of the chancellor calls for adoption of a policy change outside the normal consultative process due to the consideration of the health and safety of the students and or the campus community. And so the chancellor has an obligation to inform student leadership of that situation as soon as practicable and give an opportunity to provide input as soon as when possible. Okay, and it's all about how reasonable it is. Okay. All right. If there's implementation without input, so if, like I said, if there's a policy that is proposed to the Board of Trustees or adopted by administration that has no consultation with students or faculty, it's not a policy. Okay. And so the last couple slides are instances in the past where faculty senate, graduate student senate, and SGA has addressed issues with consultation, a lack of consultation, and what your power is as a body. So we don't need to go into details, but just know that you are an equal player in the creation of policy. You have a seat at the table and a direct path to create policy. So you have an obligation to show up, to be informed, and to get activated. All right? Because Wellman gives you that power, that right, and that obligation. So is there any questions? I think that was a record time for me doing that presentation. Any questions at all about the Wellman document?
It's complicated stuff.
I tried to make it as simple as possible and as quickly as possible, but if anyone has any questions, just email me. I can either answer you over email or you can come into the office and meet. But nothing? No questions? Yeah. That I don't know. I've only been here 2 years. But in terms of what this was, Chancellor Subaswamy implemented these guidelines. I don't know if there were different guidelines before or no guidelines or what it was before. Anything else? Okay, well, thank you very much for listening. You've been a wonderful audience. And again, if you need a lawyer personally, we're your lawyer. But if you need a lawyer as a senator, we're also your lawyer. So we're always available to meet with you. I love meeting with students. So please reach out anytime with any questions. Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Then are there any other items to discuss for committee of the whole? All right. Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole. Second. All right. It has been moved and seconded to adjourn the committee of the whole. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstain say abstain. All right. The Senate will be in order, and the committee of the whole previously called into session stands adjourned. The Senate will continue considering the remainder of the agenda. All right. Let me get situated here. Okay. For special orders, the chair will entertain a motion to vote on block. Okay. Second. All right. Just as a reminder, this vote is to block them all together. We will then have a vote to pass them. Is that understood? Yeah. This is only applicable to special orders as well. You cannot block vote main motions. All right. A member has asked unanimous consent to block vote S16 through S18. So S16, motion to appoint Hai Tran to the position of chair of the Committee on Undergraduate Registry Oversight. S17, motion to appoint Kundai Mazando to the position of chair of the Committee on Undergraduate Services. And S18, motion to appoint Maya Stamen to the position of chair of the Committee on Ways and Means. Is there objection? Without objection, the motion is adopted. All right. I will now, because I'm the sponsor, I'll start my factual description. If the chairs could come up, introduce yourselves. No. The material, so let me just do some explaining here. So just a little bit of background for the new senators. Last spring, we decided to extend the application period for these 3 positions. And so when we found candidates and we appointed them as interim because at the time there was not another Senate meeting that they could go before to be confirmed. Hi. Oh, hi. Maya? Do you want to come up for confirmation? Okay. So that's why we're doing this right now. It's a 2-week delay because, you can click to the next one. Yep. 2-week delay because they had to go through administrative affairs. But again, you can find all the hiring material on the motions packet. Just click the links. You can find their application material and all of that. Oh, wait. Lena. Next one's good. No. Yes, this one's good. No. This one's fine. Yep. Okay, cool. Cool. All right. Are there any questions? President Humphries.
Yeah, I guess I'll pose this to all 3 organizations tonight. What inspired you to get involved in SGA and what is one thing you look forward to doing in the future?
Am I starting? Well, with this is more of a long story, but I wanted to get involved in SGA as a senator because I was really interested in politics, governance. I wanted to be a lawyer, and I met an SGA alum, and he kind of got me in that way. But also, it was partially due to the fact of the RSO budgeting process, hence why I'm the Ways and Means chair, I guess. I saw a problem, and I really wanted to fix it. I'm a fixer, if any of you all don't know me, but I like to fix things and put solutions in place. So that's kind of why I joined SGA.
All right, so I joined SGA because my freshman year during the spring, I saw a lot of turmoil on campus, and I just wanted to be involved the best way I can to help bring peace back to this campus and bring unity. And why I chose undergraduate services committee specifically is because I didn't want to keep myself into one specific aspect on campus. I wanted to do it all, and I wanted to help everyone. So that's why I joined SGA.
So for me, because I'm an international student, I would love to learn more about how the student government in the US work, because I have worked in the student government in Vietnam already. So I would love to learn more. And also I did apply for RSO for a club, and I found that process very time consuming and very confusing. So that's why I applied for UROC. The other thing is that the former chair of UROC, which is Sam Chan, really is one of my main motivation, because he said a lot of good things about SGA and how to improve the RSO process. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yes. Oh yeah, I got that. I'll transition this. I did just want to provide some numbers for the factual presentation. So for UROC, we received a total of 4 applications. We granted 2 interviews and we extended 1 offer. For undergraduate services, we received 5 applications. This is 5 and for after the deadline was extended. And we gave all interviews, offered 1, obviously. And then for Ways and Means, we received 5 as well, all interviews and 1 offer. I don't know, Melina, did you want to say anything? Yeah. We think these wonderful people are extremely qualified and very intelligent. Yep. Oh.
Is it on? Is it? Oh, I just want to reiterate everything that Michael's saying. Sorry, I had food in my mouth before. But Maya, Kundai, and Hai all did exceptional work over the summer as well. I mean, it was kind of how they're gonna do in these positions over the summer, like kind of like test it out and see. And they did amazing work. They went above and beyond like everything they were even asked to do. It was amazing, and they're still continuing to do great work. So
Definitely agree with that. All right. Any other questions? Cool. There a second for the motion on block? Okay. Is there a reason for debate? Okay. There being no indication of a need for debate, the motion is called, and the question is on the passage of S16, S17, and S18. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. Those abstained say abstain. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion is passed. Congratulations. All right. The swearing-in ceremony will happen next week. Yep. Sorry, but congrats. All right. The Senate will now consider Resolution 2.
Motion to suspend the rules to consider S19 to S28 before Res 2.
So to suspend the rules to rearrange the order of the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Second, a motion to suspend the rules to rearrange the order of the agenda so that, could you just Res 2 is at the end?
Yeah, Res 2 at the
Okay.
end and S19 to S28 before.
20 to 28, correct?
I believe it's 19. It's 19 motion
Oh.
that Akanksha Sharma. to
Yes.
issue payroll.
Apologies. Okay. All right. A motion to suspend the rules to rearrange the order of the agenda so that Resolution 2 comes after S28 has been moved and seconded. The sponsor is recognized to make a factual description, unless you yield.
I just think there's a lot of people here, so just for time, we should consider those first.
Are there any questions? Senator Lewis. Yes. All right. Any other questions? Yes, Vice President Larry. Mhm. That's correct. That is correct. It's okay. All right. So a motion, yes, has been moved and seconded. The question on the floor is on the adoption of the subsidiary motion. What? Oh, yes, Senator Evans. Yep. Thank you. We'll do that in future. All right. The motion is called, and the question is on the adoption of the subsidiary motion. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The chair is in question. We'll vote using hands. All right. Those in favor, please raise your hand. Carol.
just a reminder that you can only vote if you're a senator.
Yeah.
So please put your hands up.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How many? Those opposed, please raise your hands. Yeah, please. None on this side? Six. Okay. It's 2/3. Senate will stand in a brief recess. Yeah. How do we only have 26 voting people?
Recess. It's so fucking stupid. Literally videos. Like,
Yeah. Sean's just gonna pull a motion.
what? Motion with.
Chair Sarna.
As a primary sponsor of the subsidiary motion, I would hold the motion, and I think we should consider resolution 2 first.
All right, the sponsor has withdrawn the subsidiary motion, so the Senate will now consider resolution 2. A resolution supporting the reaffirmation of 2024 S64, the resolution to boycott, divest, and sanction and drop the charges on the UMass 57 and subsequent dropping of charges for those arrested during the May 7th, 2024 peaceful protest. The chair will now read the entirety of the motion. Resolution 2. Whereas the UMass Amherst Student Government Association University Undergraduate Senate previously passed a resolution on May 3rd, 2024, near unanimously regarding divestment from defense contractors and manufacturers, along with supporting the rights of students to peacefully protest. And whereas Chancellor Reyes' administration, in defiance of 2024 S64 and precedent set by previous UMass chancellors, denied amnesty to 57 UMass students arrested in peaceful protests, and also UMass, through the Board of Trustees and UMass Foundation's refusal to consider divestment from defense manufacturers and contractors. And whereas, despite the precedent regarding fossil fuel divestment set by previous UMass chancellors, which had a backing of President Marty Meehan and the Board of Trustees, Chancellor Reyes and his administration have continued to pursue conduct charges against peaceful protesters, including sanctioned conduct charges on those involved in the May 7th, 2024 peaceful pro-Palestine encampment-style protest. And whereas 91.1% of 2,620 undergraduate students through a Student Government Association consultation survey expressed no confidence in Chancellor Javier Reyes following his decision to call in the police on the May 7th, 2024 pro-Palestine protesters. And whereas the Massachusetts Daily Collegian reported after 2024 S70 passed the vote of no confidence in Chancellor Reyes that the Collegian received an email from university spokesperson Ed Blaguzewski, containing 2 statements of support for Reyes from UMass President Marty Meehan and Board of Trustees Chair Stephen Karam. On behalf of the University of Massachusetts, I want to express my full support for Chancellor Javier Reyes and his leadership of UMass Amherst. The statement read, "He is widely respected by his team, the broader community, and our Board of Trustees. He witnessed this overwhelming support firsthand when he was inaugurated as UMass Amherst Chancellor in April. The circumstances on the Amherst campus are in no way isolated and are part of a national trend taking place on college and university campuses across the country. Chancellor Reyes and his team have engaged in good faith conversations, offered meaningful paths to a resolution, and done everything within their power to engage sincerely and protect students' rights to free speech. As chairman of the UMass Board of Trustees, I want to offer the board's full and unwavering support for Chancellor Javier Reyes." Karam's statement read, "We have absolute confidence in his leadership, his integrity, and his commitment to our students." And whereas SGA Vice President Leone wrote an op-ed published in the Massachusetts Daily Collegian newspaper and Mass Live, urging the Board of Trustees to work with the SGA to create an open forum for discussion surrounding the widespread discontent of the 91.1% of the 2,620 students that expressed no confidence in Chancellor Reyes. And whereas the shoestring reported that former student trustee Chris Brady drafted a divestment proposal echoing divestment demands that he submitted to Chancellor Javier Reyes. He said that Reyes assured him that the proposal would be considered by the Board of Trustees during its June meeting. And whereas Brady received an email from UMass General Counsel David Lowy, which can be public records requested at any time, 2 days before the board meeting. Lowy cited the second paragraph of the May 7 proposal addressed to Reyes, which stipulated that if at any point you choose to arrest or sanction students, this offer for dialogue and negotiation is off the table. Brady instead gave his proposal in a 2-minute commentary allowance period before being cut off. And whereas Lowy's statement still failed to acknowledge the election results of the SGA's spring 2024 election referendum question regarding divestment, in which 73.1% of students supported divestment. And whereas on April 16, 2024, the UMass Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights, OCR, announced that it opened a formal investigation into Palestine Legal's complaint against the University of Massachusetts Amherst due to fostering a hostile environment for Palestinian and Arab students on campus, along with anti-Palestinian bias in violation of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And whereas investigative journalism from independent news outlets The Shoestring reported that the University of Massachusetts Foundation, the private nonprofit corporation that manages the public university's endowment, has tens of millions of dollars in indirect investments in dozens of companies on a list of firms with ties to war, occupations, and border policing around the globe. Federal filings show. And whereas Chancellor Reyes's April 25th, 2024 response to the demands of the UMass dissenters, UMass SJP, UMass FJP, and Prison Abolition Collective included the following statement. As you may know, the University of Massachusetts is guided by the trustee policy of university governance, commonly known as the Wellman Document. Under this model, campus governing bodies, including the Student Government Association, Faculty Senate, and the Graduate Student Government, are consulted and shall have the privilege of recommending policies and procedures affecting the campus as the university as a whole. We take this obligation to consult with governing bodies seriously. Therefore, be it resolved, the UMass Amherst Student Government Association University Undergraduate Senate reaffirms 2024 S64 and its affirmation to protecting peaceful protesters, which includes an immediate dropping of all conduct charges for the UMass 57 and any individual arrested or given conduct or legal sanctions, including but not limited to trespass orders for any involvement in the May 7, 2024 peaceful protest. And be it further resolved, the UMass Amherst Student Government Association University Undergraduate Senate reasserts their stance of divestment along the passage of 2024 S64, with the 73.1% of voters, which 1,992 votes, in the Student Government Association Spring 2024 general elections, voting yes to the following referendum question. Are you in support of UMass Amherst's divestment, meaning the complete cessation of special and exclusive financial relationships in the defense industry from defense companies and military contractors? This may include, but is not limited to, Raytheon Technologies, General Dynamics, DCS Corporation, etc. And be it further resolved that the UMass Amherst Student Government Association University Undergraduate Senate continues to urge the UMass Amherst Administration, Board of Trustees, and UMass Foundation to divest from all direct and indirect financial investments and official university partnerships with Raytheon, RTX, and other defense contractors, all corporations affiliated with Israeli Defense Forces, and entities in the BDS list. And be it further resolved that the UMass Amherst Student Government Association University Undergraduate Senate formally requests the Board of Trustees and President's Office, particularly President Marty Meehan, to publicly reach out to the Student Government Association President, Vice President, Speaker, and Associate Speaker to commit to participating in an open public forum surrounding divestment of defense contractors and overall disclosure of the UMass Foundation investments. And be it further resolved that the UMass Amherst Student Government Association University Undergraduate Senate continues to affirm the rights of students to protest and make demands of UMass administration, and affirms that any talks or implementation surrounding divestment should include democratic oversight from faculty, students, and staff in a committee process with members appointed by SGA, GSS, Faculty Senate, and union representatives in accordance with the Wellman document. And be it furthest resolved that the SGA Associate Speaker will send a copy of this resolution to UMass President Marty Meehan, Board of Trustees Chairman Stephen Karam, Secretary of the Board of Trustees Zanilka Barrett, University Spokesperson Ed Blaguzwelski, excuse me again, and the SGA leadership at UMass Lowell, UMass Boston, and UMass Dartmouth. Sponsored by Senator Strong. All right. The sponsorship is recognized for factual description of the motion and then may yield for questions of fact. Yeah. Sir. Here.
Hello, everyone. I want to first start by thanking everyone. Okay, projector's a little bright, so I'll stand right here. I want to first, okay, everyone can hear me. I want to thank everyone that's here in the room right now. I think that the fact that we all here having this discussion is important. Not, I had a meeting this morning with, as I think Colin said it, or Anaya. Somebody said it, but it was me, Colin, Anaya, and Felicity, and Speaker Flanagan with Congressman McGovern. And Chancellor Reyes said some comments that I actually really agreed with. And he said, it's really important that at this school, we were able to have this dialogue, have dialogues on complex topics, on topics that are controversial. It's important that we face these issues head on. I joined SJ Senate last semester. I was a conduct advisor for 2 years. I went to every Senate meeting first semester, and we didn't really have any discussions on anything policy related whatsoever. I think that, the SGA and universities as a whole are supposed to be places to foster dialogue on controversial issues. So I'm glad that we're here today to do that. And so I would like to start actually by looking at the main resolution. Are we able to pull that up? So if you can scroll all the way to the be it resolved clauses, because I want to explain kind of like what this really is, because it's not as simple as saying SGA is doing BDS again. I know that it says SGA was reaffirming BDS, but it's a little more kind of complex to that. So I'm going to try to break it down. So what we're doing is when we say that we are reaffirming this resolution, we're simply saying that in the first be it resolved clause, we're saying that the SGA Senate reaffirms 2024 S64, and with that motion that passed, it affirmed the right to protect peaceful protesters, which included the dropping of all conduct charges, yada, yada, yada. What we are simply saying is it's a new Senate year. We support the democratic process that took place last semester in Senate, and we stand by what happened in Senate regarding that last semester. The next part talks about the SGA elections from last semester, where 73.1% of all voters that voted in the SGA election, which was made available to all undergraduate students, it was emailed to every single undergraduate student they could have voted in this election. 73.1% of students were in support of this question, which is divestment. And with that and with the thing before, all protests that we have seen regarding any pro-Palestine protests, anything that is regarding divestments, is relating back to the fact that 73.1% of students support some form of divestment. So what I really mean by that is every protest we have seen is because a lot of students, 73.1% of students, support some kind of discussion surrounding divestment. What that really looks like isn't really up for me to decide. This resolution is also kind of the same from last time. we are urging the Board of Trustees, UMass Foundation, to divest from all direct and indirect financial investments and official university partnerships with the motion that passed last semester. This is basically copied from last semester, except for the two things that were added is Board of Trustees and UMass Foundation. Because as Attorney Ben Farrell mentioned during the Wellman presentation, the Board of Trustees they are the ones that have all the power. Reyes, he dictates things on this campus university. He has the sole power and authority to drop all the conduct charges, which I urge him to do. But it's the Board of Trustees that can really open up the conversation surrounding divestment. And so the main point of this resolution tonight is this right here. Senate, if we are passing this, we are simply saying last semester we passed 2024 S64. This semester we are standing with all the clauses of that resolution. What we are trying to do with this semester is now say, protests are still going on. People still want divestment. This isn't an issue that died out over summer. So what we are trying to officially say is, Board of Trustees, President Marty Meehan, please commit to a public forum on divestment of defense contractors and overall disclosure of the UMass Foundation. And so that is essentially our main point. I don't care what side you are on in terms of Israel, Palestine. I don't care what side of you are in terms of many things. I think anyone should be for transparency, especially financial transparency. And so that is a big reason as to why I think any disclosure of the UMass Foundation, anyone should agree with. And actually, in my meeting this morning with Congressman Jim McGovern, I brought that up to him. I said, you know, all of these students, all they simply want is for President Marty Meehan to have a dialogue about the UMass Foundation, to kind of talk about what even, like, you know, like a lot of people, I bet if you came to the school, if you're a freshman, we have a lot of new senators. What even is the UMass Foundation? What is that? How does that operate? And so I think with the timing of that, I think it would make sense if I invite my good buddy over here, Dan, who can explain, if you can scroll up, Speaker Flanagan, please, to explain this section, federal filings, and what it really means to kind of talk about the investments that we have indirectly or indirectly. So I'm going to pass over the mic to Dan, who's going to do a great presentation on that. Yeah.
The chair will recognize, the chair will entertain a motion to recognize a non-member. Second. All right. A motion to recognize a non-member has been moved and seconded. Those in favor, please signify with an aye. Those opposed say no. Those abstain say abstain. All right, the motion's adopted. You're recognized. Go on.
I wanted to do the slide.
Oh, Melina's got the slide going.
Okay, great.
If you just tell slide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. You can hear me? All right. I'm Dan McGlynn. I'm a freelance reporter with The Shoestring, which is a local independent outlet. I'm also news editor for the Amherst Wire. I'm a junior journalism major here, and I just wanted to give everyone some background on the UMass Foundation's investments. That's what I'm going to focus on today. I'm not going to focus on anything regarding research agreements with defense contractors or recruiting ties or anything like that. I'm mainly just going to hone in on what I know about, which is the UMass Foundation's investments. And I wrote an investigation with The Shoestring this summer that some of you may have seen, basically going into SEC filings and figuring out what the UMass Foundation's investments are indirectly through ETFs and mutual funds that themselves are directly invested in defense contractors and other entities that student activists have been pushing university leadership to divest from. So if we go to the next slide. I just want to give some background on what an endowment actually is. It's basically like a pooled fund of donated funds to a university, and it's independent of a university's operating budget. And the UMass Foundation runs UMass's endowment, and they basically supplement a university's operations and pay for things like this. And you can see here with this chart, university endowments have absolutely ballooned in the past few decades. And if we go to the next slide, we can see a little bit of that. The UMass Foundation is pretty large. It's a $1.31 billion endowment. And like I said before, that mainly consists of donated funds from alumni and things like that. And the UMass Foundation covers the whole UMass system, not just UMass Amherst. There is a UMass Amherst Foundation, but I haven't really dug into them, so I can only really talk about the UMass Foundation itself. It's a private 501c3, which means it's a private nonprofit corporation. And I think that's important to focus on because we're a public university, but a lot of our operations are supplemented by a private corporation that is extremely opaque and hard to see where their money is and how they operate. And since it's private, they aren't beholden to public records law or anything like that. So you can't submit a public records request and say, hey, where's your money going? Because they're a private corporation. Yeah, and I think it's useful to just think of the UMass Foundation as a quote unquote charity for the UMass system. This is something I want to clear up that I think there's some confusion on, and I think it's important for everyone to remember. Your tuition does not contribute to the UMass Foundation. It's independent of, like I said before, the university's operating budget, which, you know, is funded by tax dollars and our tuition and things like that. We could go to the next slide. So what the prerogative of the UMass Foundation and, you know, university endowments at large are, they talk a lot about fiduciary responsibilities. I'm sure some of you know in 2016, the UMass Foundation pledged to divest from fossil fuels, and they basically made it after a big student push and arrests and similar building occupations like we saw at the Whitmore building around this time last year. But they did this big press release and they tried to make it this big PR move and being like, oh, we're being sustainable and we're progressive and we care about climate change. But they were, even in this press release where they're trying to, you know, give off that message, they're still clarifying that, you know, divesting from investments in any particular sector is not done lightly, and we have done so rarely. And the foundation's primary responsibility is a fiduciary one to maximize returns on funds donated. So their real goal, their main goal, is to keep this pool of money growing and make sure it never dries up. And, you know, socially responsible investing is not high on their list of priorities. It's also important to note that they still have millions indirectly invested in fossil fuels, and it's unclear whether they had any investments directly in fossil fuels in the first place. And some of you may be asking, what is an indirect investment versus a direct investment? A direct investment is if, let's say, the UMass Foundation purchased 1,000 shares in RTX, of which Raytheon is a subsidiary. That would be a direct investment. An indirect investment is like, for example, purchasing 1,000 shares in a mutual fund or an ETF, which itself is a pooled investment that invests in RTX and thousands of other companies at once. So there's sort of this middleman between you and this other investment. So if the UMass Foundation invests in an ETF, which they do, that ETF itself invests in all these other companies. And if we go to the next slide. So yeah, this is just useful to remember when we're talking about indirect versus direct. And the UMass Foundation is very careful in its wording, like with the fossil fuels thing, to qualify their divestment with, it was direct divestment, not indirect. So like I said before, they still have a lot of holdings in fossil fuels and things like that. So here's how I sort of deduced where the UMass Foundation has its money. This is a publicly available document from the Securities and Exchange Commission, which regulates Wall Street. And if a nonprofit or any type of corporation or institution has investments valued over $100 million, they have to disclose those investments with the SEC. So here's where we can sort of see that the UMass Foundation has no direct investments. This is a BlackRock ETF, this is a BlackRock ETF, this is a BlackRock ETF, and this is a Vanguard ETF. So they only have their money, from what we can see here at least, invested in pooled funds, ETFs, indirect investments. And it's also important to remember that this is, if you see the dollar amounts here, this is not nearly $1.3 billion. So we don't know where that other money is. So there's still a lot of work to do in terms of transparency. It could just be sitting there in their coffers. I'm not really sure. But this is their investments on Wall Street as we understand them right now through publicly available information. So this is an excerpt from that investigation that I was talking about earlier that was also cited in the motion. And you can see here, the 4 ETFs in which the university purchased shares collectively have almost $64 billion invested into 71 companies linked to mass incarceration, military occupations, and the border and surveillance industries. And I independently found that one of the ETFs has over $232 million invested into 5 Israeli banks that Human Rights Watch and the United Nations have flagged as operating in or directly financing illegal settlement expansion in the occupied West Bank. What's important to remember is this doesn't mean that the UMass Foundation has $64 billion invested into all these things listed here. It means they have like give or take 150 million invested into that 64 billion, which is a little hard to parse. But if you want to go read the article, it goes more in depth and can sort of broaden your understanding of those things. If we go to the next slide. So yeah, like I said before, this one that is heavily invested in Israeli apartheid, this BlackRock fund, it has $125 billion in total assets. That's pretty massive. And then the fund assets that are in settlement expansion are roughly $232 million. But the UMass Foundation only has 27 million invested into that massive 125 billion. But if you do the math, that's still a significant portion of money in this $232 million there. But yeah, it's pretty confusing. But if we go to the next slide. One thing I wanted to mention, like I said before, the UMass Foundation during divestment pushes, they will cite fiduciary responsibilities. They'll say, we can't just think about how socially responsible our investments are every time we want to grow this money and support the university's operations and things like that. But you know, it's very easy to invest in funds that perform well, that aren't invested in defense contractors, that aren't invested in fossil fuels. And there's this nonprofit called As You Sow that has these websites with these fund screening tools, and you can basically plug in any ETF or mutual fund and see if it's invested in weapons and things like that, and it rates them by a letter grade. And for my article, I interviewed, I forget his name, but his last name is Montes. He's with As You Sow, and I asked him, do these funds perform as well as, you know, funds that are invested in all these unsavory companies? And he said, yeah, there's a lot of research to show that they perform just as well and sometimes outperform these bigger mutual funds and things like that. So when the UMass Foundation comes to students and says, we can't do this, like it's going to lose us money, that's not necessarily true. And this is something that would be useful to cite when we're in those conversations with the UMass Foundation, with administration, with the Board of Trustees, and things like that. And I think that's all I got, if anybody has any questions.
We're still gonna I'm gonna pass the mic now to Eric, who is going to talk specifically now kind of regarding like conduct charges for those that have been involved in like peaceful protests.
All right. Pull up my speech. All right. I'm going to focus today on the experience of student protesters on campus and the way that admin has treated them. But one thing that I have really been irked by over the past year of institutional discussions of student protests has been the constant desire by certain actors to evade the root cause of these protests. So I want to start by stating this cause very clearly. These protests are about Palestine. They are calling attention to the ongoing oppression and apartheid faced by Palestinians. They are calling for an end to Israel's campaign of genocide against the Palestinian people, and they are calling for an end to UMass's ties with the companies that arm this genocide. Unfortunately, I do not have the time to give adequate context to the entire history of Israel-Palestine. Go read a book if you want that. But here, to give a brief overview, here are some empirical, unimpeachable facts. Number one, Israel has been deemed this year by the International Court of Justice to be responsible for the crime of apartheid in the occupied Palestinian territories. Number two, the Gaza Strip has been placed under a permanent siege and blockade since 2006. The siege is so suffocating that in 2018, the UN Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in the Palestinian territories warned that Gaza may, quote, Gaza may well be unlivable by 2020. We are in 2024. Number three, the Gaza Health Ministry estimates that the death toll in Gaza as of today is at least 42,000 people, over 11,000 of whom are children. However, these figures are likely a severe understatement, given that they only count people whose bodies have been recovered and have been killed as a result of direct military action, such as a shooting or airstrike. As a result, people who have died from starvation, disease, or simply been buried under rubble are not counted in the death toll. The British medical journal, The Lancet, has estimated back in July, through the study of indirect death in recent armed conflicts, that, quote, 186,000 or even more deaths could be attributable to the current conflict in Gaza. Again, this figure is only an estimate, but it likely provides a more accurate picture of the actual human toll of the Israeli campaign in Gaza. Number 4. Testimony from doctors who have treated patients in Gaza have consistently reported receiving the bodies of children who have been shot in the head. This is a overwhelming theme that has been going on throughout the conflict, and the amount of these reports would suggest that there is a deliberate policy among Israeli snipers of shooting children in the head. Fact number 5, there are over 10,000 Palestinian prisoners being held in Israeli prisons, many of whom are held in administrative detention, meaning that they have not been convicted of any crime. In July, Israeli human rights groups with a name that starts with a B that I just cannot pronounce, published a report called Welcome to Hell, where they detailed the systemic torture and sexual abuse taking place in Israeli prisons, coming to the conclusion that these facilities operate as, quote, de facto torture facilities. Combined with the deliberate Israeli policy of bombing schools, of bombing hospitals, of bombing aid workers, of murdering journalists, it is my opinion that the conduct of the Israeli military in Gaza constitutes nothing less than a campaign of extermination. There can be no justification for these actions. They are inhumane. They are unconscionable. The aggression of the Israeli state against the Palestinian people must end, and it can end in a peaceful manner if the United States cuts off the flow of money and weapons to Israel. The bombs being dropped on Gaza are American-made. The jets flying over Gaza are American-made. Israel could not carry out the atrocities it is committing without America's unabated, unconditional military, financial, and diplomatic aid. As a result, we, as constituents of the government aiding and abetting this genocide, have a duty to advocate for the end of this supply of weapons and a peaceful resolution to this conflict. This is what student protesters have been asking for, and is what we as a student government are asking for today through this motion to boycott, divest from, and sanction Israel. I would like to turn now to our campus and the situation of student protesters, and discuss the university's professed solution of dialogue. Of course, real open dialogue between conflicting sides is a necessity if we are going to come to any sort of resolution, but I find UMass's insistence on dialogue to be entirely disingenuous. First, let's talk about dialogue in the context of the October 25th sit-in. We should not forget that the #1 demand of the protesters was to have a meeting with the chancellor. This demand was only won the next day after the arrests of 57 people, including 4 of the students who were negotiating with him. I was not privy to these negotiations, but I have spoken to the students who were, and they said that Chancellor Reyes refused to budge on any of their demands, refused to give any ground, and they personally felt disrespected by his attitude towards them. I'd like to add as an aside here that Chancellor Reyes' condescending and paternalistic treatment of student protesters, particularly women of color, is not exactly conducive to providing an atmosphere of open dialogue. I'd like to pivot now to the April 29th encampment, which admin has been touting as a testament to the success of their negotiations. According to them, a pro-Palestine encampment was set up with a large number of tents on the South Lawn on the morning of April 29th. Students were allowed to stay the night, then peacefully dismantled their tents in the morning, the agreement that they would be allowed to host events on the lawn throughout the week without the tents being erected. This is all true, but it leaves out the necessary information that at around 6 a.m. on the morning of April 30th, the encampment was encircled by police, which then prompted students to take down their tents under threat of arrest. This is not two-sided dialogue, this is coercion. Finally, we have the negotiations on May 7th. On May 7th, as hopefully we all know, students set up a second encampment on the South Lawn. Almost immediately afterwards, student organizers sent an email to admin offering to negotiate. The demonstration response and safety team initially rebuffed this request. There was no offer to negotiate. The statement was simply, you have to take down the encampment or the police will be called. However, after hundreds of students, staff, faculty, and community members arrived in support, admin made the decision several hours later to negotiate. During these negotiations, cops had already been called to campus, and Reyes again refused to budge or cede ground on any of the student demands, and so they went nowhere. I'd also like to add here that negotiations were held in Draper Hall, which doesn't really make any geographical sense, given that Draper Hall is over, I believe, whereas the encampment was on the South Lawn, and admin was presumably in Whitmore. However, it was far away from where the cop cars were amassing, which would mean that student negotiators were not able to see these cop cars. I can't actually speak to the motivations of admin during these negotiations. I am not inside their brains. I can only hypothesize, though. But what I really do want to emphasize is that the actions of admin in response to student protesters and their attempts at negotiation are not the actions of people who want to engage in measured, reasonable dialogue, of people who believe that alternative perspectives are in any way worth listening to. It is blatant suppression of dissenting voices on campus. And the cruelest irony of the situation is, of course, that the encampments themselves were meant to be places where dialogue was fostered. Students were invited to come and participate, to listen to speakers and teach-ins and to educate themselves. People sang songs together and read poetry. There was a small community library made up of donated books. At one point on May 7th, a provocateur in the crowd had his hat knocked off his head, and organizers from SJP rushed over to de-escalate the situation and make sure that no one was hurt. This was a safe space. These were spaces that centered community and care, spaces that were perfect for fostering the kind of involved dialogue that admin has been begging for, and instead admin called in hundreds of militarized police to brutally arrest the demonstrators. I am not surprised whatsoever that UMass did not allow the encampments to remain, but I was deeply, deeply shocked by the total willingness to put students in harm's way. We should never forget the violence that took place on this campus at the behest of Chancellor Javier Reyes and the Board of Trustees on May 7th. Bones were broken on that night. Zip ties were tied so tight that arrestees lost circulation. Arrestees were tackled, slammed to the ground, knelt on, charged at while they were in safe zones, denied access to bathrooms while in custody, denied the ability to change their tampon, ripped out of wheelchairs. I've seen video evidence of a cop arrest and zip tie a disabled person, and then once they were on the ground, kick their cane away so that it was no longer within their reach. I saw cops arrest police liaisons. I saw cops arrest medics. This is only the behavior that we know about through video evidence or witness testimony. Given the size of the police force summoned, the weapons that they were armed with, and their utter lack of regard for the well-being and humanity of protesters, I do not think it is an exaggeration to say that Chancellor Reyes, Marty Meehan, the Board of Trustees, and whoever else was involved in the decision to call in police on May 7th put the lives of our students at risk on that night, all for the crime of having the moral fiber to speak out against the most brazen, sadistic, and well-documented war crimes of the 21st century. This is the reason I joined SGA, because I never want to let this violence happen to our students again. And this is the reason it is necessary that this resolution pass. So how do we move forward? UMass wants to brush past this and pretend it never happened, but their strategy has a fundamental contradiction. They want to win back the trust of their students, yes, but they also want to have the on-campus dialogue take place entirely on their own terms by hosting events like Q&As where they cherry pick all the questions beforehand so that none of the speakers have to get uncomfortable. But you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say we're back to normal and then make it so. We are not back to normal. Let's not forget that this very body, along with the Faculty Senate, voted no confidence in Chancellor Javier Reyes following his response to the May 7th encampment. This is not something that we can simply move past. We cannot pretend it didn't happen. The students have spoken and they have said that they have no faith in our administration to protect us. The responsibility then for reconciliation should not fall on them. UMass broke the trust of its student body on May 7th, and so the onus remains on them to win that trust back. If there is going to be genuine dialogue, then administration must not only allow its students to speak freely, but also seriously listen to them. This is why we are suggesting an open forum with the Board of Trustees on the subject of divestment, where students can openly voice their concerns and hold accountable the people that have power over them. This is the space where real dialogue can take place, where this campus can be brought back together, and where we can ensure that our tuition dollars are not fueling death and destruction. Thank you, and free Palestine.
Order.
Thank you, Eric, for your comments. Really moving. Could you actually bring up the consultation survey so we can like break down like the pie chart and stuff like that?
Yeah, we'll need to recess for a minute.
Yeah, I did share it.
Yeah, Senate will stand in a brief recess.
It's like this.
Yeah. Oh, you want me to hold this?
Also, that guy earlier, that was Dan, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You crushed it. Thank you. Can you really read that speech? Thank you. Are you
Okay, so this was the consultation survey that we sent out. We put it on our SGA Instagram about a week and a half ago. And then we sent a campus-wide email a couple of days ago. So it should have been everyone's inbox. We had 1,145 responses. And I want to make a quick note about these responses. So I reached out to Sid and we reached out to Scott Campbell, and they went through the emails for us to confirm undergrads actually filled this out. So about 35 of these responses were not undergraduate students. So there is a little bit of caveat to these numbers. However, 35 people out of 1,145. So there is still 1,000, if my math's correct, and 1,105, sorry, not a math major, responses that were actually undergraduate students. And if you click on the yes for people that supported the consultation survey, we had 892 yeses. No, we had 234, and unsure, we had 19. And I want to also mention one thing too. I do understand the concern that this survey was not anonymous. The reason why this survey was not anonymous was because last year we did not collect emails, and basically we did not have 1,000% sure way proof to ensure that everyone was an undergrad. We went through the process and we had really high accuracy, but it wasn't 100% sure. We decided to make sure that we could make sure that this is 100% accurate, that we had 1,105 undergraduates fill this out. But I also want to know moving forward too, because we also talked about our consultation policy. So I know this is really confusing. Our consultation policy is pretty outdated and it only says we need 150 people consulted throughout the whole campus community. We believe that we need to have more people consulted. So something that we are trying to do moving forward is we want to work with administration to put all consultation surveys that SGA does on campus polls, so it is 100% anonymous. But I also would like to note that this was about 77.9% yeses, and during the SGA spring elections that took place, that was on campus polls and it was 100% anonymous, and that had about it had exactly 73.1% of students voted yes on it. So I would conclude that about 2/3 of the student body that have voted on this issue support the passage of this resolution and support this movement. However, the main point of this resolution is to really just encourage the board, because again, it's not us who can dictate anything. It is not us who can say, oh, we're going to boycott this country. We can't do that as a student government association or anything. The only thing that we can do is help foster dialogue for any and everybody. So what we want to do is hopefully pass this resolution, encourage the Board of Trustees to work with me, work with everyone in Core 4 to try to create an open dialogue surrounding these important issues that many people care about, no matter what side of the aisle you are on. So yeah, that's kind of it for our presentation. I will let Michael open it up to questions to me and anyone else that would like to answer.
The sponsor will now entertain 5 questions pertaining to the facts of the resolution. Questions of opinion or comments of opinion are reserved for debate. Are you a senator? The chair will entertain a motion to, what is that one called? Recognize a non-member of the Senate to speak. Motion to recognize a non-member of the Senate has been moved and seconded. The motion is called and the question is on the passage. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstain say abstain. The motion is adopted. You're recognized. Mhm. Oh, please state your name as well for the record.
Hello? Okay. My name is Haras. And my question is, given that BDS resolutions are highly associated with a large increase in anti-Semitism, has the safety of the Jewish community been considered when passing this resolution? And is there a plan in place to address that increase if this passes?
I would like to say that the safety, I am very worried about the safety of Jewish students on this campus, and the Jewish students whose safety I am most worried about is the safety of the students who have been placed at risk by abuse from cops for saying the actions of the Israeli state do not stand for them. I would also really like to see any sort of evidence on the links between BDS and a rise in anti-Semitism. But Student Government Association absolutely rejects any and all forms of anti-Semitism, as have the student protesters explicitly stated time and time again.
So, as a Jewish student, I personally, since October 7th, have been assaulted twice on this campus by members of the pro-Palestinian community. So, I am very concerned for my safety. And so, I am wondering if you have a plan in place to address the increase in anti Semitism that I have experienced, as well as several other members, including my friend who has been punched twice, one of which resulted in him having a concussion on May 7th.
I'm very sorry for any incidents of anti-Semitism or hate that you have experienced. I believe that we should not have any of that hate on our campus. One thing that I encourage administration and us as an SGA is we work with administration, we work with every stakeholder possible. We have open dialogues about these issues, and we talk about how violence isn't okay, how we need to have open dialogue on these issues. So my plan is not anything explicit, anything direct. I would want to work with all stakeholders, any and all people, including you, how we can help make sure that you stay safe on this campus.
Senator Wu. 4 questions remaining.
Hello? Oh, damn, that's loud. For those of you, hi, I'm Kevin. If you haven't met me yet, I don't know if that's necessary, but my question to you is, as students, but as first and foremost people who live in the United States of America, do you believe that breaking the law is justifiable when it comes to raising, shall we say, activities in terms of a certain situation across the world?
This question pertain to the facts of the motion.
No, I stand corrected.
Senator Mello.
It is my understanding that the UMass Israel Study Abroad options are in Tel Aviv and at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, which are both named on the BDS list. Is divesting from official university partnerships with corporations on the BDS list intended to include ending study abroad opportunities in Israel? And would that be permanent with this resolution if it was approved by the board?
As I mentioned earlier, SGA doesn't have the power to sanction, to put any actually tangible things on a country. And so what we are here to do is simply try to create dialogue, simply try to say, hey, Board of Trustees, we have had many students that care about this issue. And so I would say that we need to work with the Board of Trustees, create dialogue to address that issue.
Chair Kundai Lozano.
Got it. Okay, so I just wanted to know if any like official members of like the Jewish community or like Jewish RSOs or anybody pertaining specifically to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict with any ties have been consulted in making this motion, because I want to ensure there is a nonpartisan aspect to it.
Yeah, I mean, you are also listed as a co-sponsor on this resolution, but I mean, the consultation survey was sent out to everybody on the campus. It was sent out to everyone through email. Every single undergraduate got it. So I would say that it was sent to any and everyone that goes to UMass, regardless of their identity. And Abby will also add on.
I will say as well, I am a Jewish student and I'm a co-sponsor of the motion. And in the planning of this sponsor, multiple Jewish students within and outside of SGA were consulted.
Senator Germain.
So divestment would be asking for the Board of Trustees, which would apply to all 5 UMass schools, right?
Repeat the question.
So the Board of Trustees covers all 5 UMass schools, right? So are we the first SGA to ask for divestment of the UMass schools? Like, are we leading on this, or have other UMass SGAs passed anything similar to this?
I actually don't know for certain. Does anyone else know anything about any UMass schools? I don't know what they have taken regarding this issue, but I do know in our resolution, we do request that the associate speakers send a copy of this resolution to the other UMass schools, including like UMass Boston, UMass Dartmouth, and UMass Lowell.
Okay, thank you.
Chair Stamen. Yeah, I'd prefer.
I would point of order. I cannot hear you up here. No.
So I had a quick question about the student consultation form. When this was sent out, I noticed that it was not anonymous. And I know you brought it up as a concern earlier, but this is usually a normal thing we do in our consultation procedures. Is there a reason why it wasn't anonymous? And also, who had access to the responses? Because I believe it only should be the outreach and development chair and the speaker.
Well, in past, I don't know what you mean by past consultation surveys only having access by the ODC chair and the speaker. That has not been our practice whatsoever. I sponsored most since last year that I had access to. But you can, if Speaker Flanagan or whoever has, they can see who has access to the survey. The people that have access is, you go to click the three dots top corner. Add collaborators. So it was me, associate speaker, Scott Campbell. He was the administrator that confirmed undergraduate students, outreach and development committee, SGA president, SGA secretary of PR and marketing, because we sent it on our website, our Instagram. We had it put on a link tree, and Sid. Only people that this was shared with.
Thank you for clarifying.
Sponsors will entertain two more questions. I've decided to add two more. For members of the audience to speak, again, a motion to identify a non-member to speak is in order.
Can I motion to recognize all non-voting members to speak, just for the sake of convenience?
Second. All right, a motion to recognize all non-voting members to speak has been moved and seconded. The motion is called and the question is on the adoption. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstained say abstained. All non-voting members of the Senate will be recognized for the remainder of the meeting. Yes, with the glasses. Could you please state your name for the record?
Hi, I'm Gabriel. My question pertains to.
Could you spell that?
Gavriel. It's like Gabriel with a V.
Okay, thank you.
So when I was reading the resolution, it seemed that the transparency was signaling out Israel for the investments related to it. I'm curious if the transparency also extends to every other country that UMass has money in.
I'm not sure what you mean by UMass having money in Israel. UMass doesn't directly have money in Israel. We don't fund the Israeli government.
No, I'm saying given the mutual fund we were talking about earlier, the fund that has, right, I'm sorry, let me rephrase what I'm saying. Like the resolution was talking about how to divest not from the BDS companies, but to push for mutual funds that don't have any either defense contractors or companies that have ties to Israel. So my question is there's a motion to increase transparency for other countries the same level it is for Israel?
I can't speak to the motion because I was just here to talk about my article and the details in that article. I will say that from what I understand, the motion is calling for transparency of investments, like from the UMass Foundation, not specifically transparency in terms of investments with Israel. Is that correct?
That is correct.
In my article, I did highlight the money invested in Israeli banks and real estate companies that specifically operate in the occupied West Bank, which is a violation of international law. And I thought that was something that student activists would want to know about, the UMass community would want to know about. That's why I highlighted that in my article and combed through the investment literature of those ETFs for certain things like that. And I got those list of companies from a pretty well-researched report from Human Rights Watch and the United Nations. So that's all I'll say about singling out those things.
Just for a quick example, is there going to be a list of these companies, when the affiliations with companies right in Israel you're talking about before with the motion, is there going to be for example, Ukraine, these companies that UMass has some money connected to via the index funds and whatnot. Is that also going to be part of it, or it's just?
I mean, I think ultimately what we are here today to decide is we are essentially telling the Board of Trustees, please commit to an open forum and dialogue regarding this issue. That is the main point of today.
I would also say, if you wouldn't mind, I know I can't really speak to the motion, but I would assume, to me, what transparency looks like, right, is a blank, like a web page on the UMass Foundation website where you can see every single investment, not categorized by country, not categorized by defense contractor, just you can see every single investment. I think that's what folks want.
Thank you. That's what I was clarifying for.
White shirt. This is the last question.
Wait, do I need to state my name? My name is Ava. So my question is, to my understanding, a similar motion was brought to the Board of Trustees by Student Trustee Brady in like last meeting of the Board of Trustees, and the motion was not heard out, and Student Trustee Brady was muted and silenced. So my question is this reaffirmation like in attempts to try to re-bring it up to the Board of Trustees? And also, is that a possibility of that occurring again, of the divestment motion not being heard out? If like the goal is to foster communication on this issue, what's the plan if like another democratically like nominated vote such as this gets shut down?
Oh, that's a great question. And I would actually ask if we can go back to the resolution to the part that mentioned student trustees resolution.
Top right.
You can scroll up. All right. So can we click on the 2-minute commentary allowance? So this is what Ava was referencing here. And so basically, the answer to your question, this is just for context. Anyone that can access the link of this, the link to this, if anyone wants to look at this, that's why I brought this up. But to answer the question is, yes, we are passing this and we are sending this to the Board of Trustees. We can also work with student trustee Felicity Oliveira to have her present a proper resolution to the board. But the reason why we were doing it this way is because instead of, sending a proper resolution, we believe that it's just better if we can get Marty Meehan here to actually sit and talk to people that care about this issue. Does that kind of answer your question? Make sense?
Wait, I think someone.
Yeah. Thank you, Ella.
If it's okay, I just want to add on to that if for anyone who was here during the Wellman discussion, this is an informal resolution of sentiment. It doesn't actually put any policy into place or recommend any policy directly to the administration or the Board of Trustees. The purpose of this resolution is more to set the stage for future policy that we might want to come up with. It's to as Dale was saying, try and create more of a conversation around these issues, try and sort of just raise the profile of this, send it to people, say that, UMass should not be arresting and abusing its own students, and that we shouldn't be invested in human rights concerns. So does that help?
So to clarify, what this motion is pertaining to is having a conversation with the president and the Board of Trustees to lay a framework for future proposals that could be focused around divestment, specifically divestment from the apartheid state of Israel, which is currently committing a genocide.
Right, and also just the general, the broader UMass community. Have a conversation about that.
To have a broader conversation about the UMass Foundation as a whole as well. So that issue on top of all the investments that the UMass Foundation has.
That concludes the questions and answers period. Is there a second for the resolution? Does there exist a need for debate? Yes. Parliamentary debate on the motion is now in order. Each senator may speak for or against the motion with a time limit of 1 minute per speaker. Senators who are in opposition to the motion that would like to participate in debate may be recognized by lining up behind this microphone, which will be there soon. Senators who are in favor of the motion may be recognized by lining up behind this microphone. A few reminders before we begin. A member of each side will be recognized in an alternating fashion, starting with the opposition. Please direct all comments to the chair, and for non-voting members of the Senate, which includes the president, the vice president, and the executive cabinet, for them to participate, they must have the floor yielded to them by a senator. Because the Senate passed a subsidiary motion to recognize all non-voting members for the duration of the meeting, members of the public may participate in debate. Are there any points of information before debate proceeds? Chair Stamen. The public may participate in debate because they've been recognized they've been recognized en bloc to participate, to speak and in debate. Any other points of information? All right. The opposition is recognized.
Oh, wow, sorry, that's loud. I'd like to readdress the first question that I had earlier, as well as a few new ones that I've thought of while you were discussing the motion, or rather the resolution. First and foremost, I do want to understand your opinion on whether or not American people, not just citizens, but people who live in the country of the United States of America, are allowed to break the law when it comes to drawing attention to activities occurring halfway across the world. I'd also like to understand the legality behind why we should be dropping the charges. I understand that while we are students and that UMass serves to protect us as students, we are also first and foremost, like I said, American people, and therefore subject to all parts of the law. I'd also like to understand if any of the previous encampments have been in, I don't want to say concert, but also agree with the land use policy, particularly with their with regards to asking the Vice Chancellor of Administration and Finance for
Member in favor is recognized to respond for 1 minute.
To the point about the legality of the protests, I would like to emphasize that the specific rule that was broken that led to the students being deemed trespassing, which was the charges that they were ultimately hit with on May 7th, was the same rule that I broke with my friends a couple weeks ago when we set up a badminton net on the South Lawn without getting permission from anyone. And this is the reason that our students were arrested. I think that UMass's enforcement of the land use policy over the past year has been so selective as to make it obsolete, and so therefore should not be a deciding factor in whether or not students can be considered to be breaking the law. Also, the encampment in protest of the housing crisis on campus in 2023 was in violation of the land use policy, was not shut
Member
down.
in opposition is recognized.
While I understand the importance for financial transparency, and the mic is not. While I understand the importance for financial transparency, I also want to touch upon the fact that BDS is still BDS, and the recommendation you would be making would be heavily divisive to our campus community. The Student Government Association has to represent the entire student body. The chancellor came here, he gave his chancellor address during our Senate training, and he specifically said that we are a diverse campus community and we should be advocating for discussion, civil discussion. Why is the SGA not pushing for civil discussion to be taking place on campus? If you feel so strongly about this motion, why are we not inviting Jewish and Israeli students to talk to pro-Palestine protesters, Muslim students, Arab students? Why are we not pushing for these kinds of initiatives to come to a solution that everyone agrees on? Why are we pushing for such a divisive motion?
A member in favor is recognized.
I mean, we have an SGA town hall tomorrow that's open to any and everybody in the public. That's first and foremost. And the whole point of this resolution to begin with is to create dialogue with the Board of Trustees. So I just reject that notion that we are not taking steps to create dialogue. That's why we're here today.
Member in opposition is recognized. Oh, you may continue.
I second that, and I also want to just talk about the legal issue as well. The district attorney who was handling the cases of arrested students from May 7th said himself that if he had seen the body camera footage from the police, he would never have arraigned those protesters in the first place. So this is not a legal issue. The student code of conduct is, yes, more strict than the general law of Massachusetts, but it shouldn't be enforced. And it is being enforced in kind of in not a viewpoint neutral way, I would say, because anyway, yeah.
Member in opposition is recognized.
My name's Sky. My concern is that the vote on the BDS resolution is being projected as being representative of the campus body when the votes were only made up 4.5% of the total undergraduate population and is not a representative sample. In order to have a representative sample, the demographic percentage of the voters would have to match the demographic percentage of the entire undergraduate population, and simply making the vote available to all students does not ensure that they will vote or that they will be represented properly.
Yield your time. Member in favor is recognized. Please state your name for the record.
Is this on?
Yep.
So my name's Ava. To the point about the point just made about the not being indicative of the entire student body, to my understanding, generally with all SGA motions, like there are these things made available, and the divestment motion and the divestment vote last semester actually had some of the largest voter turnout that's been seen on SGA motions. So while I understand that it's not necessarily representative of the entire student body, or that the entire student body didn't vote on that, I wouldn't say that that is really out of character for these proposals, but that's just to my understanding. To the earlier point made about BDS being a motion that singles out and is not a space for fostering community, 2 points. One, I think that ignores the fact that a lot of people involved in SJP on campus are Jewish students, that this is not something that is just limited to Muslim students or Arab American students. It's representative of quite a large part of the student body.
Member of the opposition is recognized.
Hi, everyone. My name is Olive. One of the central goals of BDS is to return what they consider to be 7.25 million Palestinian refugees to what they consider their home. Now, that would be in Israel proper, not the West Bank, which would turn the demographics of Israel into a non-Jewish country. This is a non-starter. Israel will never go for that. And frankly, it doesn't make any sense at all that you would be advocating for this, because the reality on the ground would never allow for it. So in light of that, and in light of, I think, a lot of the really the wild claims and aspirations of this movement, I have to ask, what is your goal here with passing this? Because it only seems to be dividing our campus community. And I know personally, if I can share now, because I don't just have to ask a question, it has been hell on
A
earth.
member in favor is recognized.
Really briefly, the reason why we're here today is try to create dialogue with the Board of Trustees.
Yeah, I'm not going to address anyone specifically. I'm just going to say, first and foremost, voting on divestment here does not have any tangible changes as SGA. Like, there is nothing you can actually do within the finances of UMass to divest. It is simply a stance that's saying we care about this issue and we want this put on the table for conversation. Also, I think we're all forgetting that there's an active genocide happening right now, and there has been 50,000 plus Palestinian civilians killed in the past year. We're all uncomfortable. We all need to face some of our own internal biases. And at the same time, that is more pressing. And it should be the most pressing thing that on all of our minds right now when we're thinking about the fact that our money is supporting those crimes.
The opposition is recognized.
Oh, sorry, I'm Hadass. I thought it was said that our tuition is not going towards that. It is private donations that are going towards these profiteers. So I'm confused as to how you can say it's our money going towards it if we are not the ones actively donating. We are just paying to get an education. That's the first thing. And second thing is, if there is no, so I have several Jewish friends who had joined student government this year, and as soon as they saw this on the agenda, they promptly left because they felt targeted. So if something like this is enough to make Jewish members of student government leave the student government, how are we supposed to believe you represent us?
Member in favor is recognized.
So my name's Ivor. I myself am a Jewish student. I have family in Israel. My cousin was actually kidnapped by Hamas. I feel much safer, and I can tell you this, my family feels much safer if BDS as a whole internationally was passed. This ties back to a lot of things, but fundamentally apartheid is bad for everyone except for the rich in the country. And I would say that, like, again, I feel perfectly represented. I've organized around this issue for a long time. And I think my will as a Jewish student and as somebody who has family in Israel, I feel safe. I feel perfectly happy that this passes.
The opposition is recognized.
Time left in the minute. Okay, 4 seconds. Okay. I can't say anything in 4 seconds.
The opposition is recognized.
Okay, so just a quick follow-up. I also have like all my cousins, my brothers, sisters live in Israel. I do say like physically, definitely much safer in America, so I would agree with you on that point. Two things I want to bring up though is one, the push for dialogue. Mahesh Diamond previously talked about how it seems like SGA isn't pushing enough for dialogue. You know, this whole motion, it seems to be pushed for dialogue with the I forget the board of trustees. Is there anything to push for more dialogue between students in general? Like, is there a possibility for like a new committee to be made to put more effort into dialogue being created instead of just more right for like pushing for BDS? So also the second point I want to talk about is the inherent bias, especially in the presentation today, where at first we talked about how it's not about the motion is not about Israel Palestine, but it's more about transparency. And then later we went on like a 10-minute rant, which using very using statistics in a one-sided narrative and using different ways of calling people out in a one-sided way, which is very non-neutral.
Member in favor is recognized.
I'll be quick. Sorry. First of all, there is the town hall tomorrow. I encourage you guys to come and talk about these issues there. I do think as SGA, we need to be having more conversations with people, and we will have initiatives, we will work on initiatives in the future about that. Additionally, this resolution it pertains to long-lasting things such as free speech on campus, the ability of students to protest, no matter what the issues are in the future, if they're popular, if they're not popular, and to financial transparency in the Board of Trustees, which I would consider to be roughly neutral issues, even though they've been brought to us because of this divisive issue.
Please hold applause. 20 seconds remaining.
I would just like to add to what Ella said about that. This motion specifically is about encouraging dialogue between the administration, specifically the Board of Trustees. But that is not to say that there won't be more movements in the future. And we encourage students, if they feel like they have an idea to create dialogue, to do so. The second thing I would like to state is that the issue of student
Member in opposition is recognized.
My name is Noah. Certainly the consensus among SGA seems to decide that Israel is committing genocide. I would like to figure out how you guys got to that consensus, because as defined in the 1948 Genocide Convention, genocide requires intent. And when I look at Israel's current war, I see humanitarian zones being set up. And most important, oh yeah, Al-Mawasi humanitarian zone. You should look at a map. Anyways, I also see—
Please hold outbursts.
I also see a civilian to militant death ratio of 1 to 1.5, which is certainly a tragedy. But when you look at the global average, it is 1 to 5, and in the average of the Middle East, it is about 1 to 30. Israel's ratio of 1 to 1.5 is significantly lower than any conflict ever in the Middle East. War is a tragedy. We all know it. We don't want to see people die, but the law of armed conflict is not made to prevent all civilian casualties. It is meant to minimize them.
6 seconds remaining. Do yield. Member in favor is recognized.
I disagree with the characterization that we are saying that the entire SGA is against Israel. Again, speaking for myself, I didn't specifically say anything against Israel. What we are here today, the main point, what the resolution says, if this passes, it's what the resolution says, is we are here to urge the Board of Trustees to commit to an open forum on dialogue.
How much time is left? So I'd just like to say, to the point of Israel, part of the reason why there is so much student support behind this motion is to bring these issues to the Board of Trustees. To the earlier point about our tuition not going to dollars, the UMass Foundation uses donations and invests them to put that back into the school. So it is very pertinent to our day-to-day life, like what those investments are going towards, as well as just a lack of general disclosure when we're seeing things like tuition raising for like the 5th year in a row. Israel's war has been deemed a genocide by multiple humanitarian groups. Right now they're under fire because they set up military outposts next to Irish UN workers in
time.
Lebanon, which is using human shields.
The
That's
opposition is
IDF.
recognized.
I would Hadas again. I would like to return to my point about not feeling safe. I feel that the response I was given now just invalidates how I am feeling, and I don't know if I can have confidence in a student government that invalidates my feelings and that I do not feel sees me. I am struggling to feel represented, as this motion was originally going to be brought up on Rosh Hashanah, and had it not been argued against multiple times, it would have gone up on Rosh Hashanah, and that is one of our high holidays. It happens once a year, and that to me is extremely uncomfortable and sort of shouts out that I am not seen, I am not heard, and that I do not matter. And I would like to know how the student government plans to help me as a student of UMass who is paying my tuition here feel comfortable here and feel protected by you.
Do you yield your time? Member in
Motion
favor.
call me motion.
Second. All right. A motion to call the main motion, effectively ending debates and bringing the Senate's attention to the passage of the resolution, has been moved and seconded. The sponsor is recognized to make a brief factual description of their motion, if they wish.
I just think in view of time, we cannot afford to lose quorum. It is an important motion, hence I call motion to call me motion.
Are there any questions about the subsidiary motion? All right. The subsidiary motion is called and the question is on the adoption of the subsidiary motion. Those in favor signify with an aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Those abstain say abstain. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. All right. All right. Now we move on to the passage of the resolution. Yes. You do not have to amend that as sponsor. All right. So as a reminder, this is the vote to pass the resolution. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Those abstain say abstain. Abstain. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion is passed. The Senate will now consider S19, motion to add Akanksha Sharma to the SGA payroll. If we could have all other microphones be turned off, there's some feedback going on. Oh, sorry. Akanksha is excused tonight, so she cannot come up to answer any questions. But just a little background on this. Last semester, Melina and I appointed Akanksha as interim chair of the finance subcommittee. She has since been appointed the full-time finance chair, and this is a paid position, meaning it must be approved by the Senate. Are there any questions? All right. Is there a second for the motion? Okay. Does there exist a need for debate? With no indication of a need for debate, the motion is called and the question on the floor is on the passage of S19, motion to add Akanksha Sharma to the SGA payroll. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstained say abstain. The ayes have it. Motion is passed. The Senate will now consider S20, motion to appoint Haley Martin to the position of Undersecretary of Sustainability, sponsored by Senator Wu. The sponsor is recognized to make a factual description on the motion.
I was told that there was an unbiased application processes for the Undersecretary of Sustainability. If I'm not mistaken, the actual process was described last AA meeting by Carol DeRose. I very much thought that it was unbiased and therefore thought that Haley was the perfect person to vote.
Thank you. Is Haley here? I don't see her. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. If I could just provide some background as well. The Undersecretary of Sustainability, as with all of the upcoming motions, these are paid positions, meaning that they have to be approved to the SGA payroll by the Senate. Cool. Are there any questions for the sponsor? All right. Is there a second for the motion? Does there exist a need for debate? With no indication of a need for debate, the motion is called and the question is on the passage of S20, motion to appoint Haley Martin to the position of Undersecretary of Sustainability. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstain say abstain. The ayes have it and the motion passes. The Senate will now consider S21, motion to appoint Aishwarya Vishnubhotla, to the position of Conduct Advisor, sponsored by Chair Centenaro and the Committee on Administrative Affairs. Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh. Thank you. Were there other points? Okay. Cool. The sponsor is recognized to make a factual description on the motion.
Hi, everyone. The Committee on Administrative Affairs reviewed every single conduct advisor appointment, and it was passed unanimously. So that is all I really have to say about this. They're all great candidates.
Any questions for the sponsor? Is there a second for the motion? Is there a need for debate? With no indication of a need for debate, the motion is called and the question is on the passage of S21, motion to appoint Aishwarya Vishnubhotla to the position of Conduct Advisor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstain say abstain. The ayes have it and the motion passes. The Senate will now consider S22, motion to appoint Sabrina Ishanian, to the position of Conduct Advisor, sponsored by Chair Centenaro and the Committee on Administrative Affairs. The sponsor is recognized for factual description.
The same thing I said goes for every single conduct advisor.
Awesome. Okay. So I'll take that the sponsor waives their factual description for the rest of it. Questions? Any questions? Is there yes? Chair. Is there a second for the motion? Is there a need for debate? With no indication of a need for debate, the motion is called and the question is on the passage of S22, motion to appoint Sabrina Ishanian to the position of Conduct Advisor. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstain say abstain. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Chair Onyeka. Block vote is out of order during main motions. Only special orders. Yeah. I would have entertained that a long time ago. All right. The Senate will now consider S23, motion to appoint Paige Sheehan to the position of conduct advisor. The sponsors waived their factual description. Are there any questions? Is there a second? Is there a need for debate? With no indication of a need for debate, the motion is called and the question is on the passage of S23. Motion to appoint Paige Sheehan to the position of conduct advisor. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstain say abstain. The motion passes. All right. The Senate will now consider S24, motion to appoint Catherine Hardiman to the position of conduct advisor. Are there any questions? Is there a second? Is there a need for debate? With no indication of a need for debates, the question is on the passage of S24. Motion to appoint Catherine Hardiman to the position of conduct advisor. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstain say abstain. The ayes have it and the motion passes. The Senate will now consider S25. Motion to appoint Owen Mullins to the position of conduct advisor. Are there any questions? Is there a second? Is there a need for debate? With no indication of a need for debate, the motion is called and the question is on the passage of S25. Motion to appoint Owen Mullins to the position of conduct advisor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstain say abstain. The ayes have it and the motion passes. The Senate will now consider S26, which is the last conduct advisor motion. Motion to appoint Brian Beltrami to the position of conduct advisor. Are there any questions? Is there a second? Is there a need for debate? With no indication of a need for debate, the question is on the passage of S26. Motion to appoint Brian Beltrami to the position of conduct advisor. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstain say abstain. The ayes have it and the motion passes. All right. The Senate will now consider S27. Motion to appoint Divine, is it Eche? Thank you. Eche to the position of treasurer, sponsored by Chair Rabin and the Committee on Administrative Affairs. Chair Rabin is recognized for factual description. Oh, yeah. Secretary Bellerive is here on Chair Rabin's behalf.
Thank you. So for this role, I received 18 applications and I conducted 7 interviews and gave 1 offer. And yeah, it happened over the first 3 weeks of school. But yeah, anything else?
Are there any questions? Is there a second? Thank you. Is there a need for debate? With no indication of a need for debate, the question is on the passage of S27. Motion to appoint Divine Eche. Thank you. To the position of treasurer. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstain say abstain. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Congratulations. The Senate will now consider S28, motion to appoint Eva Pujado to the as Deputy Attorney General, sponsored by Chair Centenaro and the Committee on Administrative Affairs. Sponsors recognized to make a factual description of the motion.
Eva Pujado is the Deputy Attorney General. We confirmed her alongside all of the conduct advisors, and she had an excellent presentation. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. Passed by committee.
Yep. Any questions for the sponsor? Is there a second? Is there a need for debate? All right. With no indication of a need for debate, the question is on the passage of S28. Motion to appoint Eva Pujado as Deputy Attorney General. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstain say abstain. Oh, is there? Okay. Where was it? Abstain? No abstentions? Okay. The motion passes. Yes, the ayes have it. The motion passes. Chair Centenaro is recognized.
Motion to add something not anticipated 48 hours prior to the agenda. It's just Naomi Bloom's appointment as a conduct advisor.
Are there any questions for the sponsor? Okay, could you send that to us?
Yeah.
So we can pull it up. The whole motion. Just so we can see it on the motions. If you just repeat it, I think that would suffice. Could you just read out the motion?
Motion to appoint Naomi Bloom to the position of conduct advisor.
It has been moved and seconded to a motion to suspend the rules to consider a motion not previously on the agenda has been moved and seconded. Not debatable. Is where am I? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstain say abstain. And the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the subsidiary motion is adopted. All right, now we're on to the voting of it. So this would be S29, sponsored by Chair Centenaro and the Administrative Affairs Committee. Okay. Is there a second for the motion? Is there a need for debate? With no indication of a need for debate, the motion is called, and the question is on the passage of S29. Could you remind me of the long title?
Motion to appoint Naomi Bloom to the position.
Excellent. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstain say abstain. The ayes have it, and the motion passes. Are there any motions on the floor except a motion to adjourn? Except a motion to adjourn. None? Yes. To res 2. Just come up after. It doesn't have to be amended. There being no motions on the floor except the motion to adjourn, the associate speaker will record the ending roll call. Do you want just the microphone? Oh, okay. That was speed round.
Okay, everyone, if I could have your attention for 2 seconds. I know I said in the beginning of the meeting, if I pronounce your last name wrong, my apologies. If I pronounce it wrong again, please come up to me because I didn't get to make a note on the sheet that I'm using. Come up to me so I can make a note of how to pronounce it so I don't keep pronouncing it wrong because I don't want to do that to anyone. Sound good? Okay. Senator Adeni. Sorry, give me 1 second. Senator Alamanji. Senator Anim. Senator Bloom. Senator Borski. Senator Butusova. Senator DeMarco. Chair Centenaro. Senator Dami. Senator Duarte. Senator Duvetti. Senator Eze. Is that pronounced right? Okay. Senator Faiza. Senator Germain. Senator Hercule. Senator Hiranandani. Here, okay. Senator Ibrahim. Senator Imran. Senator Jama. Senator Kim. Senator Kumar. Senator Lequier. Senator Lewis. Senator Molesky. Senator Monda. Chair Mazzondo.
Here.
Senator Mello. Senator Molman. Senator Nevins. Senator O'Connell. Chair Onyeka. Senator Patuk. Senator Pattarello. Senator Perry. Senator Prabhakaran. Senator Prabhakar.
Here.
Chair Rabin. Chair Sarna. Chair Sharma. Chair Stamen. Senator Silverio. Senator Strong. Senator Tamkin. Senator Tao. Chair Tran. Senator Churong. Senator Verma. Senator Wu. Okay, we're all set.
Are there any motions on the floor? All right. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Those abstain say abstain. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Accordingly, the Senate stands adjourned until 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 16th. Thank you, everyone, for your good work tonight. I hope you have a restful evening or restful night at this point. Melina and I will be here if you have any questions. Yeah. Buenas noches.
Please say that everybody interrupt this.